Can you believe that it was 2 years ago today, in the bubble, that LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they led the Lakers to the franchise's 17th title. Their series against Portland, Houston, Denver, they were all gentlemen sweeps, right? But Game 5 of their final series against the Heat, it's become NBA lore. It's become a meme. Jimmy Butler slumped over the stanchion after playing all but 48 seconds. And I remember watching as arena workers hauled out the confetti, and then they had to haul it all back when Jimmy Butler made those free throws and forced a Game 6. But that's where Frank Vogel did what Lakers fans had been clamoring for all year. He went small, started Anthony Davis at center. Davis posted 19 and 15 in the closeout game en route to winning the first championship of his career. But 2 years, only 2 playoff wins later, and a whole lot has changed since the Lakers won that title. In fact, did you all know that LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they are the only 2 players left from LA's championship roster? So Frank Vogel is out, Darvin Ham is in. Here's Anthony Davis talking about how Ham taking over has impacted his mindset.
The flow we have offensively and is freeness a word? I think. Freedom that we have.
I like freeness too.
Yeah, the freedom we have offensively. That's a Kentucky education. 6 months of college, you know. The freedom we have offensively is second to none. You know, just go out there and guys get to play. And when you, as a player, when you're able to feel free to play basketball on the offensive end, where a coach is like, oh, don't do this, and try to limit you to a box, you kind of go hard on the defensive end, you know, when he needs you to do something. So
AD starting at the 5 is definitely on the table. It's something that's under heavy consideration. Again, we want to put our best 5 out there to start the game, and AD starting at the 5, you know, I think that's definitely plausible.
Welcoming in NBA champion Richard Jefferson, 2-time WNBA All-Star Chiney Ogwumike. I also want to bring in our resident big man, Kendrick Perkins, and someone who knows a little bit about the low post. See what I did there? Senior NBA writer, Zach Lowe. Richard, that face is the face.
It's
That's fair.
We're here.
Here's where I want to start today, though, Rich.
Please.
A lot has been made of this, right? Anthony Davis at the 4 versus Anthony Davis at the 5. Anthony Davis at power forward versus Anthony Davis at center. Tangibly, what's the difference?
The difference is that there's a greater level of physicality that is required to play the 5 consistently. Think about the 5s in this league. Jokic, Embiid, at times Giannis. You know, you got guys like Steven Adams. You got Ayton. You got some big boys that are playing the 5. And even in the last few years, we've seen more teams play with bigger traditional guys. And so when you're playing the 5, there's a little bit more physicality that is needed. Don't forget, when they won the championship in 2020, they had JaVale McGee on their roster. They had Dwight Howard on their roster, which allowed AD to not have to be as physical and as dominant. Yeah. And then they went small, and there's certain teams that you got to go small with, i.e. Warriors, in order to beat them. But you got to play big.
Well, and that's part of the reason that we're having this conversation, right? Because Anthony Davis played a preseason game against the Warriors, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, my God, Anthony Davis playing at the 5. Perk, what do you think of this?
Well, I think we need to stop overreacting to it, because this is a game right now, and I'm disappointed in Richard because he's supposed to be teaching, right? We talk about evolution. Just because you're a 6'10", 6'11", or 7-footer doesn't put you in a box. And Anthony Davis just got through speaking about freedom, a game, positionless basketball. Anthony Davis is nothing but a big guard that could protect the basket for his rim protection, okay? When you think about his skill set and him being able to stretch the floor, you think about his ability of him being able to push the rock up the floor and be a decision maker at times. We never talk about how he's able to make others around him better. So when I see him, when they put the title on him as being a center, I don't like it because his position is basketball. Just think about this. The Golden State Warriors won the NBA championship last season. And majority of the times, yes, Kevon Looney helped out, but majority of the time when they go small, they're having a 6'6" guy in Draymond Green that's anchoring their defense at the 5 position.
But Big
so
Perk, I have
this
a
is where the
question.
game is at.
I have a question. Do you really care about labels when it comes to the 5 position? Isn't it more important about lineups? Because I think the key here is that who is he playing with? If he's playing the quote-unquote center, the lineup is what strategically matters for the Lakers, meaning you're able to play that positionless basketball. You're able to move up and down. And I would say that my answer to differentiate the two is offensively, if you're playing the 5, that's great for, basketball. What he probably worries about is defensively playing the 5, knowing what Richard said, having to deal with all those bangers. And so I don't really worry about these labels of individual, center, forward, all that type of stuff. I think it's more about you play the 5, and that's our strongest lineup, Perk. I think that's the most important thing.
Listen, I want Perk to respond. I got a question for Zach. Zach, I want to know this. When you talk about doing what you haven't done to get where you want to get, right? Sometimes you have to do things that make you a bit uncomfortable. Just stay with me here, Zach. My question to you is, do you think the Lakers are most effective when Anthony Davis is the primary big on the floor, or do you think it's better when they have 2 bigs on the floor?
Look, it's not something they haven't done before. We just went through how that's what they leaned on when they won the championship. They didn't just lean on it in that game. They leaned on it in the Houston series. They leaned on it whenever the going got tough. Let's talk about what we're actually talking about here, and that's this. The Lakers know, we know, everyone knows, you can't play Russ, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and a traditional center at the same time. There just isn't enough space on the floor. Even though the Lakers centers are okay jump shooters, it's not going to work. So you have 2 choices. You start Anthony Davis at center, or 2, and I'm sorry if I'm being radical here, you bring Russell Westbrook off the bench, start more shooting, so then you can leave AD at the power forward. And to your point, RJ, he won't get exposed that way to so much banging and physicality in the regular season. We know he's injury prone. We know they got to save him for the playoffs. So that's the discussion we're really having. As Chiney said, it's about lineups. It's about the whole 5-man picture. That's what we're talking about here.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.